Conectează lumea.
Kevin Cai, engineer at Kollider, calling from Somerville, Massachusetts.
Is it true that Kubernetes and Docker are two fundamentally different technologies that work well together to build, deliver, and scale apps in containers?
Yes.
Do you believe hyper-Bitcoinization is coming?
Yes.
Jean Baudrillard was a French sociologist, philosopher, and cultural theorist. Did he change your look on to economics?
Yes.
I am addicted to LNTX bot coin flips.
Yes.
The Grand Budapest Hotel is a 2014 comedy drama film written and directed by Wes Anderson. Do you know Miniatures, the hotel itself, the railway, the observatory, and the statue on the rock were used to make the movie?
No.
The Queens of the Disco, aka Donna Summer, made her evergreen I Feel Love in 1977. Do you know she's originally from the state Massachusetts?
No.
Are you dreaming of releasing an open source hardware ASIC silicon?
Yes.
I prefer coding over producing electronic music.
Yes.
Do you know that Frank Ocean started his career as a ghostwriter writing songs for Justin Bieber, Beyoncé, and John Legend?
No.
Are you Satoshi Nakamoto?
No.
Welcome to the Connected World Weekly Podcast. I'm Edward.
And I'm Stef. We are ready to take you with us into the beautiful world of the Lightning Network.
Enjoy the ride. This is episode 33 of Connected World.
Hey,
Stef,
my friend.
how are you doing? long time no see.
I'm
You've
still
been away.
searching for my voice. I hope it will come back soon. But
I hear you just fine.
Great.
Yeah, I think you were shouting or something.
As I already told everyone, I was at the Austrian Grand Prix last weekend, and I arrived back home just this afternoon. So and then I had the appointment with you to record this podcast. So but yesterday I didn't drink. I did drink, but nothing alcoholic. So I thought, well, maybe it's better to do it with water or something today. And my voice isn't that bad, right? I mean, you can hear I shouted a bit, but it's fine, right?
It's your sexy voice, right?
Thanks, mate.
No, but was it an epic? It
was
to be there.
Yeah, it was. It was a big party as always, and we were very lucky because we had a sprint race this weekend, and we also obviously had the qualification and a normal race on Sunday. So. It's an experiment from the FIA this year. So the sprint race was like an extra for us. So that was crazy. And unfortunately, Max Verstappen he finished second. So it wasn't his best result. But the Ferraris were so fast on Sunday. On Saturday, the Red Bull was fast, but on Sunday the Ferraris were too fast. So yeah, man, and I slept. I almost slept. I didn't sleep last night. I think I slept for 2 hours or so, and we returned the RV because we rented an RV with
that's
three of my friends.
Yeah.
So
that's
and
great.
It was a bit damaged. Because my friend,
so you had to pay.
My friend who drove it, he crashed into an Albert Heijn vrachtwagentje. So
No.
So Albert Heijn is one of the biggest supermarkets here in Holland, and it was on the way to Austria in Holland still. So we were just, I think one and a half hour away, and then we wanted to eat something. And Raiko.
And then you just thought, well,
we were in the parking lot, and we ordered some McDonald's, and I ordered a McFlurry, and I didn't have a McFlurry for over 10 years or so. So. And a friend of mine ordered one, and I was like, "Oh man, I used to eat it when I was young, and is it still that nice?" And yeah, man. So I ordered one, and I was sitting in the front seat, and I was eating my McFlurry, and Raiko, the driver, he wanted to leave the parking lot, and the other van was parked next to us, and I was looking in my mirror, but the guy, he had his a truck driver's license, right? So I was like, okay. Let's keep shut because he knows what he's doing, right? And then as I was looking in my mirror, I said to him, "Well, we are a bit wide. I think this RV is just swinging out a bit, so please be careful." And then, I don't know. He didn't listen to me, and he just he smashed into it, man. So we had already some nice damage just before we just crossed the border to Germany. So. What a nice story, right?
It's a nice beginning. Yeah, it's a great story.
So, Raiko, you were a fantastic driver, but we need to.
Next time you're driving, right?
Maybe it's better. So, but how was your weekend, Edward?
My daughter is going to be having her birthday, and we were in Amsterdam, and it was a long time for me in Amsterdam, and it's just a great city. I lived in my childhood nearby. It was really a place I went a lot, and so this is this was really a long time, and we've been to the Rijksmuseum.
Oh, nice, man.
The museum there, and that was also ages ago, and it was just great to see her for the first time, see those
paintings,
those paintings, and
Crazy,
the Nachtwacht, right? And we had a sunny
day.
Eating outside.
It's so big, man. It's crazy.
It's so big. It's an amazing painting. Yeah. And Rembrandt and the light and
nice,
great. Nice. So enjoyed, and now I just eat with old colleagues, so that was also nice.
And now we're recording the podcast.
And now we're here inside. And it's going to be hot this week, man.
I already saw the forecast. Man. So you need to put some sunscreen on, Edward. I'm already a bit I'm sun gold.
You have a 10, right.
10,
Hey, who is our friend this week?
We have Kevin. So, and he is an infrastructure engineer and working at
Kevin
Kollider,
Cai.
A real-time settled derivative exchange. So it will be a very interesting talk, I think.
Yeah. And he said that Kollider is going to be addictive. So
you like to trade, so I think it's interesting for you, my friend. I'm only stacking.
Let's put all our money in.
Cool.
No, stacking is the best, I think.
Hey, but first, Edward, let's talk a little bit about statistics of the Lightning Network and, of course, about our Rings of Fire community.
Connecter le monde.
So last week we had a little over 36.8 Bitcoin pushed into the Lightning Network, and this week it's 37.45 with around 1,270 members participating in over 166 rings. So we added 59 million Satoshi, so more than half Bitcoin, Edward. Yep.
Nice. And we're now at block height 744,566. And we have 18 nodes less in the whole Lightning Network. That doesn't matter because those 16,984 nodes are able to have a network capacity of 4,167. So 123 Bitcoin more than last week.
Crazy, man. Yeah. Hey, today's value of 1 million Satoshis is $206, 204 euros, and 1,383 Chinese yuan.
Connect the world.
And then some highlighted news updates from last week, brought to you by the Daily Moon. Base 58 is a Bitcoin education company, and they have a 6-week developer-oriented Bitcoin transaction class, and it takes you from zero to blockchain hero. That's what they say. And I quote, they start this summer with a new 6-week series of open source deep dives into the hottest projects of Bitcoin. So check all the dates in the show notes with the link and grab the chance to hang out with some of the best open source developers as they walk you through the ins and outs of their projects that they're building. And there are really great names. I saw Nitesh, Vyatchav, that kind of name. So that's very interesting. And then J-Code Labs, we're all education this week, I guess. They organize a 5-week summer program for research and development around the Lightning Network. And I did the same in April. And every week we had a different partner to work together on answering some challenging questions. And we also worked in breakout sessions. So learning and meeting a lot of other people who are all passionate about the Lightning Network is a great experience. So try it out. So if you want to take part and have read the Mastering the Lightning Network book of René Picard, then apply as soon as possible because maybe there are still some spots left, or otherwise they'll just put you on the list for the next series. Yeah, well, they say it's important to read a book, but in my experience, I read the first 5 chapters. Those were very important, I guess, for just recap about how it works. And then the other chapters, you can read it by subject. If you are able to answer some questions, you just need to to read it, I think. And and maybe later then you grab the book again and then you read it again or look something up. But yeah, if you've read it, it doesn't mean you understand it everything. So better to do it more than once. And then Picard Payments. We're on René Picard this week. A great article in Bitcoin Magazine about Picard Payments and how the Lightning Network can also deliver large payments. So not only small payments, but also large payments. And René Picard and Carsten Otto managed to find a way to break down large into smaller payments and route based on minimum cost flow, opportunity cost of probability. And the usage of Picard payments can be done by L&D Managed J, written by Carsten Otto. And René is also developing a library to allow simulation and production tests. So that's also interesting. For those who want to know it, then just check the links in the show notes. Also for both repositories. So that's great. And then there are 2 updates worth mentioning. Well, that's what I thought. LNDG, for those who use it, they have a new release and it adds customization with new settings to the auto fee feature and 2 new settings for auto rebalance. It's now possible to rebalance with fee less than 1 set. So check it out. And of course, also all other features that help you keep healthy channels. And then Blue Wallet now supports LN-URL authentication. So now you can use Blue Wallet to log in to websites in a jiffy. So that's
and you're putting a hell lot of work, Edward, into this subject, and of course into the website. So do you want to read more and stay up to date about everything related to Lightning, the news and updates? Then head over to tdm.news and follow the Daily Moon on Twitter or Telegram. So and you will put the links in the show note, Edward.
I will put them in. And it's not only me. We have a whole team of people working there. So that's, So that's great that they're helping out with this.
Nice.
Conectado Lumia.
Okay, so let's have a look at the rings forecast. Well, last week, Edward, I think you remember that we didn't balance any rings. And
I remember.
This week it was the same, and it has to do. I think it has to do with my small vacation to Austria, because I didn't have that much time to help out the ring participants. But As I already told everyone last week, we are pretty busy because I saw that we have now 8 rings open, and actually right now we are trying to balance the 1 million Satoshis 45th ring. So yeah, I think we are a little late to the party, and we can't make it into this episode. So we will share the story next week. Yeah, man. So,
but it's nice to see they're really busy.
Yeah,
so that's
and 8 rings open. I mean,
story.
It seems like we're sleeping, but we aren't. So, and we have something to celebrate, Edward, because I just saw that we have 500 subscribers on YouTube. That's crazy.
That's crazy. It's been a half year and now more than 500 on
Lightning
YouTube.
Fanatics.
It's just great.
So great to have you all with us, guys. And
we're gonna clap.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
And if you are watching the show and you aren't subscribed yet, please drop the subscribe button and join the other 500 Lightning Fanatics.
Indeed. Yeah, and 1,000 members in the Rings of Fire, also great. Yeah.
We aren't in a bear market with that one, Edward.
No, no, indeed.
Cool.
So everything is done and dusted again, Stef. Thanks.
Thank you, Edward.
And let's go to the lightning notes. All right.
Conecta el mundo.
Make sure to secure your home network. So change default passwords and use 2-factor authentication where possible. And keep your software up to date. It's also very important. Please keep in mind that the whole Lightning network is very experimental. Software like MyNode, Umbrel, Raspberry Blitz, for example, and many others, and LND also, are still in beta phase. Don't blindly run terminal commands on your node if you don't understand them yourself, and especially when prefixed with sudo. And the last one is also very important. Don't use Satoshis that you're not willing to lose. So if you're not aware of all security considerations, then read into it. Educate yourself, read articles, ask for help in Telegram groups with high reputation like ours, and listen to podcasts and learn by doing. Otherwise, don't participate.
Also, you can stay informed by following us on Twitter. You can find us at Satoshi Radio ROF. And follow our Lightning leader, Jonī Kyasshu. Join our Telegram groups, Satoshi Radio, Ring of Fire, and Connect the World. And check our website, satoshi.radio. It would be nice for you to be part of our Amboss community. You can find us there on Satoshi Radio. And like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Use Podcasting 2.0 to listen to Connect the World. And you can check SATA trading for the current value. You can find all this information, of course, also in the show notes as well.
All right, let's get on to the show.
Connetti il mondo.
Welcome, Kevin. We're excited to have you on our show.
Welcome, man.
Excited to be here.
You prefer coding over producing electronic music, but what kind of electronic music do you produce?
I like to do some atmospheric music production, some ambient sound, something like Boards of Canada, if you've ever listened to them. But yeah, coding, I guess that would be my primary hobby. I just like writing code whenever I have free time.
Yeah, but maybe you can, while taking some time off from coding, you produce music, right? To get more inspirational, or does it help you to get more inspiration?
That would be awesome. If I ever retired, I'd probably try to do music full time.
I think we need a couple of more years, right? Because you think the hyper-Bitcoinization will happen. So just a few more years, Kevin.
Then we need a lot of coding still.
We'll have to hang in there.
Yeah, just hang in there.
And you're addicted to LNTX bot coin flips, right?
I am. I'm hopelessly addicted. It's so easy to hop into any Telegram chat and see there's only one person that needs to join in order for the coin flip to happen.
Yeah,
it's a ton of fun.
You have to be that last person, right?
Yeah. It's awesome being that last person.
Yeah,
because you win. So that's the most awesome thing in the world, right?
If you're lucky enough.
If you're lucky enough, yeah.
And I was thinking about the technical aspect, well, the Kubernetes and Docker, because I saw it on your GitHub, of course, that you really are into Kubernetes, and a lot of people think they are the same or it's something different, but the same. Can you explain it very simply?
Of course. Yeah. So Kubernetes is a system that is in charge of creating and managing containers. And all a container is a process or a specific program running in a sandbox so that it cannot interact with other programs on the same host. And the purpose of having these systems is so that you can take one big container ship or a server and pack many small applications running on it, which reduces your cost of ownership and your overall cost. The difference between the two is that Docker is the system that Kubernetes uses in order to do that type of work. Kubernetes could work with other systems as well, but it's basically a plug-and-play system, and Docker is just one such component that is involved in this process.
Yeah, great.
Nice.
Great for other developers to hear it like this. So yeah, and you're working at Kollider, a real-time settled derivative exchange, and the trading and settlement system enables traders to get instant price exposure without having to pre-fund a trading account. How does it work exactly?
It uses the Lightning Network, right?
Yeah, it uses the Lightning Network. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so I consider us Lightning Network native. And when I say that, I mean that we are expecting a majority of users to want to use Lightning in order to interact with our platform. Traditionally, with an exchange, you would move your funds from your Trezor or your Cold Card on chain. You would wait the number of confirmations, usually 1 to 3. And then you would have your funds available. You'd trade, maybe close your position, and then you would withdraw your funds when you're done. Nathan and Konstantin, the founders of the company, believed that this was an inherently inefficient system and approach to doing exchange work. And I agree. With our system, we have a priority on only moving funds when you absolutely have to. So if you're ready to open up a position, if Bitcoin has hit what you believe to be a local minimum and you open up a long position, you pay the margin for that position when you open the position. You don't have to pre-fund it. You can if you want to, of course, but you don't have to pre-fund it. And why this is relevant is because you get to maintain your spending power up until the point that you want to open this position. You don't have funds that are tied up, just sitting there on an exchange, not doing anything, not generating a yield, just sitting there. That's where Kollider is different.
That's a huge difference.
Sounds like something you should try, Edward, because you are a amateur trader, I would say. but to be honest, Edward, Edward, to be honest, did you win Satoshis or did you lose more Satoshis while trading?
No. Of course, winning is the goal, right?
Yeah, but be honest with us, right?
No, really. Yeah. It's important to win, so you understand the game a little bit, and it's fun to try. And of course, you lose some and you win some, but in the end, I win some.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was also thinking, what to do with your fiat money or Satoshi that you have on as a funding there. And you start looking at earning products or something just to do something with it. But I just don't like the anxiety of trying out. And I think this is interesting because then you can do it instantly. And I think that's a step for me. That would be ease of mind, relaxing.
Nice. Yeah, I know. I don't trade.
And you?
No, I don't trade. But a laptop man does.
But you did, right?
Well, no, I didn't. I really. But this is. I don't lie. I never sold any set. Never.
No, really.
I only bought something using my Satoshis, right? So the Satoshis which are on my node, these are just like my normal wallet, right? And the rest is all very cold storage. But no, I have the Satoshis on my node, which I use for paying for my beers and my food. Last week at the Bitcoin meetup, I did, but I never trade. But I know a laptop man from our team, and he is a real, and he's a professional trader, I would say. So I think he definitely want to
totally different.
Want Kollider out, or to try Kollider out. So, hey, but how did you end up there, Kevin? And what's your role? Maybe more important.
Yeah, so it's funny that you ask. The way that I had discovered Kollider was when I was first trying out the Lightning Network in the Breeze wallet. And looking through the apps, I tested different ones. You know, I looked at LN Markets, I looked at LN Pizza, which was there at the time. And I just kind of wanted to try out each one of them. You know, I'd moved about $200, $300 into my Breeze wallet. And I just wanted to play around with a couple of different applications and see what the Lightning Network could really do. And when I opened up the Kollider app and I started trading, 2 hours had gone by before I noticed that I just entered this app. It was like a video game. You know, I was completely addicted. And at that point I said, okay, look, this is awesome, but there are a couple of issues that I think I could help improve with. So I went to their website. I saw that they were hiring and I sent in an application. About 2 weeks later, Constantine got back to me from the company and he said, hey, you seem like you're quite knowledgeable about Lightning and infrastructure. How would you like to come on as a DevOps engineer? And so what I do there is I am like a shepherd for our servers. I look after them, make sure that they're happy, well-fed, make sure that our services stay online, and also help with keeping our developers able to push updates efficiently and on a timely basis.
Nice.
So I help to grease the gears of the machine.
Cool. Yeah. Hey, you know the saying, right? Don't get high on your own supply. So I don't think are you still trading at Kollider or?
Yeah, I trade on a daily basis. I've also been working on a little trading bot as a side project that takes the Bitcoin index price and tries to predict what it will be in 20 seconds to 60 seconds and then tries to trade off of it. So far, it's not been a super good experience. I think my net P&L for my account is minus 1 million sats. But I consider that a cheap lesson when it comes to learning how to trade. Prior to this job, I was not super into trading or anything like that. But I've learned a lot from my coworkers and also just from using the platform. So nowadays I try to encourage myself to trade more. When you
reach the almost final version, you may send Edward and me an invite so we can test this for you.
Yeah, the bot.
Absolutely.
Cool. Hey, we have all kinds of questions for you, Kevin, about Kollider and your vision on the Lightning Network, but it has to be in the 21 minutes. So if you guys are ready, we would love to enter that part. Are you guys ready?
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's do it.
Conecta el mundo.
When connecting with the Albi wallet within Kollider, running in your browser, it's an easy way to open or close a position directly from your own wallet. What other possibilities are there to open or close a position in Kollider?
Yeah, so one thing that I did with Albi that is a really nice workflow that I enjoyed was I would open up a Kollider on a tab and I would set my auto withdrawal threshold to be something like 10,000 sats. Then after I'd opened up a position, I would set my take profit level as well as my stop loss level, and I'd just go to bed. And the idea here was I could set what I thought were reasonable thresholds for when the price would move either in my favor or against my position. And when that settlement occurred, the sats wouldn't be in Kollider's hands anymore. Instead, it would trigger an invoice to Albi, which would then drain the sats out of the account back into my node. So if you can imagine, for a particularly large position that may be tying up 1 or 2 million sats of margin, this means you can fire and forget. You enter your position, you set your conditions for exit, and the next morning you wake up and the sats are all there, right in your node, accounted for.
Cool. And this is instantly, so it's not there. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
that you can do it with Lightning.
It's about as close to instant as you can get. Based on our metrics, we are seeing that the settlement time is anywhere between 4 seconds and 8 seconds, and this is varied based on where your node is geographically relative to ours. We're located in the EU, so if you're also located in the EU, you'll have a lower HTLC settlement latency. If you're in the US or in somewhere that's very far away from our servers, it could take a little bit longer. But I would say this is about as fast as you can go.
Cool. Okay. And does Kollider work under compliance with KYC regulations?
Currently, since we're in alpha, we're not enforcing KYC. However, when we exit alpha and we are ready for general release, I believe that will change.
Okay. And how long are you in alpha since the start?
So this is something that's on our roadmap. Personally, I think that we could be anywhere between 1 year to 2 years away from exiting alpha. But of course, this will depend on many factors, including user growth as well as trade volume.
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think we already filled a spot in our agenda in about 1.5 to 2 years, Edward. We will invite Kevin
we're going to call again and talk about the bot he's building or is working great. I saw it is also possible to, make an account, of course, to register. And you could also sign in with Lightning. And it gives you a LN-URL QR code. How does it exactly work? And I really love this possibility, of course. And when I tried, I get an error, but probably I did something wrong. I don't know.
Well, definitely let me know if you're still having that error, because I'd like to help you solve it. The idea behind LN-URL authentication is that we use the standard LN-URL auth. And this is a privacy-preserving standard that takes inputs, including the site domain, and generates an ephemeral or temporary public key identity, as well as a signing key pair. This allows a website to uniquely identify a user without knowing exactly who they are based on their node ID. We wanted to offer this as an alternative to a username and password because, first of all, I believe it's more secure, allowing the user to authenticate using their node. It's something that they're going to be looking after and wanting to keep high security around. Having a username and password opens you up to a lot of different attack vectors, including having a keylogger, or if it's a shared computer, someone who simply logs into your browser when you're already logged in. LN-URL auth has been a huge improvement in user experience and the amount of time that it takes for someone to visit our site and then register an account. It brings that time way down. And ultimately, I think it should become the de facto standard for Lightning platforms to do user authentication. The reason we have the username and password is mostly for legacy support.
Yeah, for me, the possibility to log in with your node, it tells me that my node is my identity, and I think that's the part that I really like. So
another really interesting ramification of using LN-URL authentication is that if you have an application like LN-Bits that can split up your node into individual user accounts, you can have people who are using your node to trade, but will have their own distinct user identity. Yeah. So for example, if my dad wanted to try out Kollider, but he doesn't know how to set up a Lightning node, I can point him at an LN-Bits account that I've created, and he can use that to log into his own personal account while still using the liquidity from my node.
Yeah,
crazy.
That is really great. Yeah,
nice. And in March, Kollider broke through the $1 million daily trading volume. I don't know what it is now around June, but this volume was created by traders solely through using the Lightning Network and therefore minimizing their counterparty risk. Can you explain to everyone who is listening or watching why this is so important?
Absolutely. So we are an exchange, and that means we need to make money. The primary means by which an exchange makes money is by setting a fee. And of course, volume is therefore a direct indicator for how well we're doing. When you talk about counterparty risk, the example that I like to refer to is in the 2008 crisis, when AIG leveraged its AAA rating in order to sell credit default swaps to counterparties for default protection. In other words, they performed a trade that would give them coverage in case the product that they were selling went down in price. That's great for AIG. However, when AIG became insolvent and didn't have money to put into positions and they were getting liquidated across the board, this created a significant risk that their counterparties or the people who were on the other side of their trade wouldn't get what the contract entitled them to. In Kollider, we don't have nearly as much counterparty risk as if you were to trade a product called contracts for difference. And the reason is because when you trade on Kollider, you're not trading against us. You're not trading against the exchange itself. You're trading against other users that are on the exchange. Therefore, it's unlikely that you'll be in a situation where the future contract does not hold anymore. Or in other words, the contract is null and void. This type of risk is actually very common in the crypto market, mainly because if you don't have any proof that you can make good on a contract, you may be able to profit off of making that trade without the collateral behind it. So this is why I think it's so important to see the growth of exchanges like Kollider, which encourage peer-to-peer trading rather than a bunch of users trading against the exchange itself.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. I was also thinking about RoboSets lately, because also peer to peer. But this makes it more. How do you say it? It more fair, like a fair game or something.
I would say that it's a form of decentralization while still operating a centralized exchange, if that makes sense. So Bitcoin's not super into DeFi currently. We do things on centralized exchanges, but of course, who you trade against is a huge part of your risk versus reward function.
And what's your trading volume now?
So our trading volume, I believe, was $5 million in the last month. It stays fairly stable and it grows slowly as we onboard new users to our platform. I believe that basically once we launch more products, we'll be able to bring on users at an exponential rate. But currently we've been seeing that grow sort of slowly. We don't put a lot of time or effort into marketing. So right now that's been organic growth, users who are telling other users about our platform or people who want to win sats in our competitions.
And what are things Kollider is working on right now?
So there's one thing that's brand spanking new. It's a wallet called Kollider Pay. You can go to it at pay.kollider.xyz. And what it does is it gives you fiat pegged exposure without involving stablecoins. What I mean by that is, let's say I'm a merchant and I'm selling Doritos out of my gas station. I want to start taking Bitcoin as payment, but I don't want to hold Bitcoin on my books, right? Let's just say that is the premise. I don't know why.
Very stupid
Bitcoin.
idea, but okay.
It's a fantastic asset, right? Maybe I'm a little nervous about Bitcoin dropping in price. Maybe I just don't like Bitcoin, but I still want to be able to take it as payment because hyper-Bitcoinization has happened and everybody and their mom has a Bitcoin wallet, right? Let's just say this is the premise. I don't want Bitcoin exposure, but I do want to take Bitcoin as a payment. What Kollider Pay allows you to do is it allows you to craft a special invoice that calculates the amount of sats that corresponds to a fiat amount. So if I have a $2 bag of chips, I can have a special $2 invoice that will take the exchange rate, figure out the sats, and then lock in the value of fiat at that time. So let's assume that we're in a world where Bitcoin is $100,000 per Bitcoin. When I make that purchase, that value is locked in. If Bitcoin drops by 50% to $50,000 the next day, my purchasing power has not changed because the amount of value was locked into the fiat amount, if that makes sense.
Cool, nice.
So that's one of the products that we're working on. Another thing that we're working on is improving our existing Umbrel application. So as you know, a lot of users are using Umbrel because it's a one-click solution for running a node. We have an Umbrel app right now that allows you to move sats out of your node and open up positions. We want to make that better. We want to include features like liquidation protection, where if you have a position that's open with a lot of leverage, it will automatically move a certain amount of margin from your node into that position to try and prevent you from getting liquidated. That's particularly nice. If you're like me and you open up positions and then you go to bed, you might get liquidated at 4 a.m. and there was nothing you could do about it because you were sleeping. With liquidation protection, the idea is that you get a bit more of a fighting chance if you want to use high leverage, but also you want to get sleep.
Nice. And the Umbrel app is called Zonic, right?
Not exactly. So Zonic is another app that was basically the predecessor to the Kollider Pay wallet. It was essentially like a minimal viable product version of it. Our Umbrel app is just called Kollider.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
And it's in within the App Store, right? So people can find it.
That's right. Yeah, you can download it in the Umbrel App Store on the dashboard.
Cool.
As simple as that.
And you are the man behind, the systems within Kollider, especially the Lightning node you use. So I want to ask you some questions about your personal thoughts about the Lightning network. But before we can ask questions about that subject, I would like to know what your first experience with the Lightning Network was. And do you still know what you did or what you saw at that moment?
I do. So at the time, I was talking to my friend Jacob, who's an admin in the Lightning Network Telegram chat. And he was telling me about ways that you could take Bitcoin for micropayments. And this was something that was very interesting to me at the time because my stacked sats was very small. I only had about 100,000 sats at the time, and I really didn't want to spend it for any reason. That was a huge part of what made me want to actually sell Bitcoin and not hold it anymore, is that I was holding it and not doing anything with it. But then Jacob called me up. He said, listen, there's this great thing called the Lightning Network. You can take your on-chain coins create channels, you can move millions of dollars across a $10 channel back and forth forever. You can put messages and embed them into invoices. You can do all sorts of cool stuff. At that point, I downloaded Breeze Wallet. Thanks to Roy. It was a very, very smooth experience. It took me all of 10 minutes to get my wallet set up. And then I started testing out applications, and actually just 10 minutes later, I was completely hooked.
Nice.
And a year ago, you said that Lightning is, in your opinion, the single best UX improvement to Bitcoin that exists, and that Lightning is most intuitive. Can you emphasize again why you think this?
Yes, absolutely. So whenever I look at UX, what I'm thinking to myself is, how do I make this concept that could be complicated or confusing as simple and straightforward as possible? And to me, there's nothing that is simpler than Lightning when it comes to interacting with Bitcoin. And that is because people are already conditioned to be using QR codes for payment and to understand the concept of using a device like your mobile phone in order to facilitate these types of transfers of money. If you can build something that runs as parallel as possible to the existing fiat solution, it gives you the highest probability of getting conversions from other people who are used to apps like Venmo or Cash App. Even apps like Cash App introducing Lightning Bitcoin makes total sense. And I think actually backs my point here, because if they didn't have the similarities and ease of use, they probably wouldn't add it to their app.
Mm-hmm. And do you think Lightning is more difficult to grasp for newbies than Bitcoiners who fully understand the layer one?
Yes, I do think so. I think generally speaking, all you need is 3 hours to understand how Bitcoin on-chain transfers work, at least to a functional degree. Maybe not being an expert, maybe not understanding the intricacies of how the opcodes come together in order to allow a transaction to be spent, but the basics of what an input and output and what a transaction are, and what fee bumping is and what the mempool is. I think those are very well understood and digested topics at this point. You can look up a YouTube video and understand it. Whereas for most people, if they want to understand Lightning to the same extent, it will take them weeks, if not months, because there are so many moving parts involved, from what an HTLC is to how nodes and channels actually function to what the gossip protocol is. I remember when I first started learning about Lightning, it was a bit overwhelming because there's just no end to the topics, right? You learn about one aspect of it, and then you find out that you actually don't understand anything about another aspect of how it really works under the hood. So yeah, for people who are new to Bitcoin, it could take them some time to fully understand how the pieces come together.
It's a pretty nice rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is.
I want to go in some more node management questions. Not so long ago, you wrote that one factor to consider for dynamic fee setting program is that you could trip L&D's heuristics for a peer that updates their fee too often. So it's not always just about the fee level, but also how often it changes. Do you use a program for dynamic fee settings? And can you explain this trade-off you were talking about earlier?
Yes, I do. I use charge L&D in order to set dynamic fees, and I do this in order to send a signal to the greater liquidity market that is the Lightning Network, how much liquidity is available on a given channel. So if I set a very high fee, what that's telling other people who are looking at this data is that maybe this liquidity is hard to maintain, or maybe this liquidity in this channel on my side is empty very often. The reason why I was warning people against updating their fees too often is actually because mission control, which is a component in L&D that helps to optimize the Dijkstra algorithm, which is generally used to do pathfinding. What this all means is that when somebody attempts to make a payment, they're looking for a path through the Lightning Network. And the way that they're doing that is a cost optimizing function that is looking for the cheapest possible way to get from point A to point B. The difference between a Lightning pathfinding and Dijkstra's algorithm is that you have a time component. You don't want the user to be sitting there staring at a spinning circle for 2 minutes, right? So you can't check every single possible path. Instead, you're going to start creating empirical heuristics, which are historical data points that tell you about how reliable a channel is. And if somebody comes across a channel that is falsely advertising a lot of liquidity by setting an extremely low fee rate, it's going to get evaluated, and then L&D is going to say, I'm not going to trust the low fee setting from this node as much because this time they failed me, which means that if I try again in 5 minutes, it'll probably fail again. This is why in applications like Breeze, sometimes you have to reset MC. That's resetting the mission control aspect of L&D. And it's telling it, get rid of those empirical historical records. Yeah. Start from new and don't make any assumptions about the graph. Just try and make this payment happen.
Yeah, we use it also.
Yeah, we use it in the Rings of Fire because sometimes we have a very problems with gossip, and then we ask the ringleader to do that reset MC command, and then
while it's cool to have dynamic fees, this can quickly get out of hand. There are people who are running this script once every 2 minutes, once every 3 minutes. So every payment that was getting facilitated and forwarded on their node was effectively going to change the fee rate. Now, I'm sure it doesn't take much thinking to start concluding why this is a bad idea. It's kind of like if you wanted to drive on roads from your hometown to the grocery store, but the speed limit was changing every 5 minutes, right? It's very likely that at some point you saw the speed limit was at 30 miles per hour, 60 kilometers per hour. You're chugging along the road, and suddenly you see flashing lights behind you because the speed limit changed while you were on the road, right? This type of volatility is what ends up creating a bad situation for people who are trying to push payments through the network. And as a result, this mission control function is kind of there to discourage you from doing this. I myself update my fees on a once-an-hour basis. This is often enough where I can get a good balance between how much fees I'm setting and how much liquidity is left in a channel, while also not creating that situation where your speed limit or your fee setting is changing so often that you're missing out on a lot of potential forwarded payments simply because you wanted to min-max the amount of fees that you're collecting by, 0.51 sats, 100 sats. In my opinion, it's not worth trying to do that type of premature optimization. I'd rather just let somebody route a payment across my node and me get, 50% to 70% of what I could be getting out of it than getting 100% of the fee that I should be able to collect, but missing out on 2x or 3x the number of forwarded payments that could have happened, but didn't because I kept messing with my fees.
Yeah, and in its early phase of the Lightning Network, is this very difficult to properly estimate the availability of liquidity? And how will this change when there are more merchants responsible for an increase of transactions?
I think this is very dependent on how your use actually goes through. So there's a naive path where you just try to make a payment. You don't do any sort of prep work. And then there's an expert path where you're probing the network for a potential route ahead of time, maybe even looking for a route and then setting that as your static preferred route, kind of like how the Igniter script works for Ring of Fire. Those types of solutions tend to be better at figuring out where liquidity is in the network, because not only does the probe tell you a binary outcome of if there's liquidity there, it also trains mission control to prefer using that route because it works in both ways. Not only does mission control say, don't use this, it also says, use this. So if you can establish ahead of time before you make that payment that you have a working route, you have a pretty high probability that by the time you actually attempt making the payment, it will go through and it will do so quickly.
And you have your node running on ClearNet. What is your setup to achieve this in a safe way? And why did you choose to run not behind Tor?
I am actually running behind both ClearNet and Tor. I've got an AWS instance, and it forwards the traffic to my actual IP. So as a result, the IP that is being broadcast to the Lightning Network over the Gossip protocol is not my IP. There's an extra hop that happens in between. The reason I ran both ClearNet and Tor is because I think there's basically too much Tor connectivity that doesn't have any ClearNet connectivity. So by running in hybrid mode, I'm increasing the efficiency of Gossip.
Cool. In the last episode, we talked with Dr. Olga Yugolova of Pandora Core, and she's developing a second layer solution for scalable smart contracts with RGB. And the most interesting thing was that we have to see RGB as something completely different from Bitcoin and Lightning. And did you read into what RGB is, and what do you think of the possibilities with RGB when thinking of the future of developments of the Lightning Network?
Absolutely, yeah. I've taken a look at the RGB spec. I've also taken a look at the Taro spec. I think both are incredibly powerful mechanisms by which we can do asset management and creation. And in the case of these types of solutions where you have client-side validation, you can hit basically a best-case scenario when it comes to efficiency. At the end of the day, the blockchain is just a database, a distributed database where you're paying for the number of bytes that you're using. We don't want to bloat L1, and we certainly don't want to bloat L2. So the best solution is to figure out and do all of our assets management in an off-chain way that just involves TapScript exchanges, right? And so by doing this, we can take on the functional burden of providing additional features to Bitcoin without making them wasteful. So absolutely. I think this will play a key part in Bitcoin adoption long-term as more and more people want to move towards things like NFTs or just fungible tokens management through an existing layer that does atomic swaps. So you could see stablecoins being transferred across the Lightning Network using Bitcoin as intermediary liquidity. And that's very exciting to me.
It could be a good thing for adoption. Yeah,
it definitely could.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, Kevin, sorry, we have a lot of more questions, but we didn't ask them all. But we would be delighted if you come back another day for the show to do our show.
I would love to.
Then,
it's been an absolute ton of fun speaking to you guys.
Awesome.
Connect.
Last week, Kevin, we had Patrick Melder. He is the founder of Bitcoin Lago in Guatemala, where he is creating a circular Bitcoin community. And he has the final question for you. So we asked him to come up with the question. Edward will play the audio file, and you may answer it.
Sure.
So will hyper-Bitcoinization, will that end corruption? And if so, if no, why?
Yeah, I think that it will. When I think about current power structures and how governments are being run, and the existence of shell corporations and individuals that are taking away from what should be shared aid in countries like Zimbabwe, for example, I think that hyper-Bitcoinization and widespread adoption will kill corruption dead in its tracks. And the reason is because it creates a paper trail. If a politician is getting paid on-chain and he's spending 50% of what he should be spending on things that aren't related or embezzling them, sooner or later, somebody's going to figure out what's going on, and there will be evidence to prove that there's corruption. Today, with fiat money, with these coupons that have no meaning and can be minted out of thin air, it can be extremely difficult to trace where that money is going when it lands in somebody's bank account, when it lands in somebody's salary. Having additional transparency will be an extremely potent tool in combating any sort of corruption, at least ones that have to do with financial crimes.
I think I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. I think it's it really could help in this way. Yeah.
It is the best case audit trail. Yeah.
That's it. It's so transparent, right? And I mean, you can be anonymous or maybe pseudonymous, but if you have to give up your identity for whatever reason because you got a big donation or something, and then people can track you. So I think I agree with you, Kevin.
And next time, Kevin, we have our new guest, Anthony Potdeven. He's a co-founder at Emboss.space and the main software engineer for the open source project ThunderHub. We want him to answer a question also from you. Which question can we ask him?
The question I would ask him is, do you think the Lightning Network will ever appear on other coin chains other than Bitcoin?
Trick question.
Yeah.
Good one.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Connetti il mondo.
Well, thanks again, Kevin. It was a very interesting talk. And I think, Edward, you must do some training, man. And then we split the profit. Right. We split the profit, right?
Yeah. And I also think, well, for node management, I know you have a lot more to say even. So perhaps if our listeners want to follow you or look you up and ask a question, where can they find you on Twitter, Telegram, or of course for us, the Kollider information? That would be really useful.
Yeah, so my contact details are Proof of Cash on Twitter, Synthlock on Telegram. You can usually find me lurking in the Kollider Telegram chat. And if you want to give Kollider a try, go to pro.kollider.xyz, check it out, sign up with an account. We operate in all countries that are not on the OFAC list. So if you are outside of the United States and other OFAC country lists, you'll be able to hop on there and start trading today.
Cool.
Love the name Proof of Cash. That's just
thanks.
Great. Thanks again. And thanks for listening. And thanks to all members participating in the Satoshi Radio Rings of Fire. And of course, thanks to everyone helping us out to connect the world. If you like our content, please support us in our mission and visit our website, our new website, connecttheworld.live, where you can donate and subscribe, like, and share our content on your favorite platform. We need you to complete our mission, connect the world. So keep those notes running, sats flowing, and rings burning. And see you all next week with Anthony Podevin on this same Lightning channel. Alveda, Kevin.
阿西布拉少。
再见。